My name's Austin Von Johnson, and as Mindy mentioned, I'm a comedian, an improviser, an actor. I freelance full-time, but those are kind of like my little like trifecta of like basis, right? And it kind of breaks off from there. I have been married to my wife for 8 years. We just had our first baby, and he is almost 6 months. He'll be 6 months here in about 10 days. And so his name is Winter, and he's super cute and so chill. Comes with me sometimes when I do speaking events. Not when I perform stand-up comedy yet. So we'll see if we can cross that bridge at some point. I don't know if the bars will be cool about it. Yeah, I'm really excited to be here. I've been to several of these, and just like what Dustin said, there is a really just amazing creative energy that's here. There's a really amazing community that's here. Kelly had mentioned something just in passing way before anybody got here, but it's that you know, she's always gotten something out of it. You know, whether that was from the musician or just from somebody that she met or from the speaker, and that's something that really resonates with me. I have a loose plan of what I'm about to talk about, all right? It's pretty loose. I'm going to tangent a lot. I'm going to warn you about that right now. But it's not at all my goal to come here and to deliver something very specific, right? Because I have no idea why you're here. All I know is that you are, and I am here as well. And there's probably a reason for that, you know, whether you're kind of a believer in a higher power, in God or the universe, or whatever the case is, you know, oftentimes you can see these patterns in our lives where we're put into situations that we were kind of meant to be in. And so as I mentioned, I'm not here to say anything specific, but I would not be surprised if I happened to say something that might connect with you. And I have no control over that. I have no idea what that's going to be. I just hope that it happens. So anyways, yes, I'm here to talk about invest. And it's weird because you know, so like Mindy reached out to me and she's like, all right, I have all these months, right? And each month, these are the different themes. And I'm like, none of these themes make any sense to me whatsoever. Like, how am I going to come and actually talk for a while about this? That's insane. But invest was one that just like, it was sticking out, right? It was resonating. It was almost like it was just throwing stuff at me, and I'm like, this is a thing. And it's interesting. It's scary because it was coming up soon. This happened just a couple months ago. And I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna try for February, and but I wanted to kind of open with kind of the reason why I'm here, specifically to talk on this theme. Invest resonated a lot with me because it's a word that has kind of came up during a very pivotal point in my kind of creative career. You know, as a creative, this is something I've been doing. Well, I started improv comedy. I was first introduced to improv comedy back in high school. I did theater, and so we did improv warm-ups, and that's where I was introduced to it. But I never really considered it as a career, or even as part of my career, until about 5 years ago. You know, I was randomly connected. Talk about those random chance meetings. I did a photo shoot with this guy, and I then met his wife, which happened to be Megan Bryant. And if you guys were here last month, you got to experience her super awesome talk here at Creative Mornings. And then we just kind of like, it was kind of parted paths a little bit. And, you know, a couple months, several months later, I get this random call. And she was like, hey, I'm starting this improv thing back up in my living room. You seem like you might be good at it. Do you want to join us? And I'm like, yeah, I love improv. I did it in high school. I'm so excited to be here. And I didn't think that that was going to happen. That is a completely chance, random thing, right? And you know, similarly to what Dustin talked about how, you know, one group of friends led to the next group of friends, right? Like that's what happened for me. And slowly but surely, acting, improv, and stand-up became my little trifecta of a career. And I love it, and it's what I've always wanted to do. Anyways, back to, remember when I talked about tangents? Party time. Invest is this word that carries a lot of weight because it came up during a very, very pivotal point in my creative career. It was a point where I unfortunately was having to cut ties with a very close friend and fellow creative and over business. And we had what was unfortunately a very heated discussion, and one of the things that I said was, you don't invest into people. And he said, that's bullcrap. He didn't use those words. I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially said, you know, the product that we offer changes people's lives. And I'm like, you don't get to take credit for that. If you're offering a product to somebody, if your business is offering a product and it changes their life, that doesn't become, you don't become charitable for that. They paid you for something and you delivered. Like what you have now is just a great product. And that's what you get to celebrate, right? You don't get to embellish it outside of its thing and take credit, right? You know, I think, let's see, yeah, like don't embellish the reality so you can take pride in it. I used to bid spot at auctions, you know, and for those of you who might not know what a bid spotter is, when you're at a charity auction, you know, you'll have the auctioneer up there and they're talking real fast, but you have like 3 or 4 people, depending on the size of your audience, that are out in the audience and they're doing stuff like this. Yeah! And they're letting the auctioneer know, like, oh, we have a bid, right? And I was at one of these events. This is how it's going to go the rest of the time, just so you guys know. And following one of these events, my friend that was working that with me, we were talking about it to somebody else, and he said, "Oh yeah, you know, we helped that charity raise $75,000." And I'm like, "Whoa! No, we didn't. We made funny noises and pointed at people and got a paycheck at the end. All right, you don't get to like jump on board like we're charitable now. That's not how it works, you know." And it's weird how that happens as human beings because it's a human tendency. I've done it before too, you know. And I've come to realize that if you find yourself, you know, embellishing your reality so that you can feel proud of it, you should either A, work on maybe improving your reality, or B, maybe it's not that important for your reality to fit these weird expectations that you have, right? Like why can't we just live as human beings? You know, we're all perfect, we're all imperfect, we're all human. Why does this matter so much, right? And so yeah, that's why I'm talking about invest. It's weird. It's just a silly thing. It'd be like a Whole Foods cashier being like, I save people's lives daily. They come to me. They need food. They purchase it from me. If they didn't have food, they would die. I save lives. Like, calm down, bud. Anyways, so yeah, I just. Anyways, that's why I'm here. That's why I'm here. So invest. I put this together. I just kind of asked myself a series of questions about what this means to me. So again, I'm not saying that this is necessarily a right or wrong thing. If it makes sense, wonderful. If it makes no sense, it's great food here. And I'm so glad that you came. But what does invest? What does it mean to invest? And my definition is to sacrifice something of value in the hopes that it will grow or transform into something that will be of benefit to you later. And that little bit at the end, I put some asterisks. I put some stars by it. Because there's some interesting things that I feel like are tied to that, but it's about sacrificing, right? That's why I didn't feel like my friend previously was investing, because you're just selling a product. That's not investing at all. Like, you need to sacrifice. You need to give something of yourself to someone else or to another entity. We talk about investing in community. You have to give in order for it to be considered an investment, right? And I also think about gambling and how like the difference, and I feel the difference is in the risk, but there's not a whole lot of difference otherwise. You're sacrificing something when you gamble in the hopes of getting something more, and an investment is a very, very similar way. You are gambling. Don't think that you're not gambling, and I think that it's important to realize that, because you need to not be butthurt if it doesn't turn out well, right? Because sometimes that happens. In fact, I would hope that it happens regularly for you, because that means that you're putting yourself out there and you're making investments generously, and I guarantee you are getting returns, even if you don't realize what they are. I encourage you to look for those. But yeah, so that's what investment means to me. What do we invest? We invest money, time, and energy. I think those are, I like to do things in threes. And when I talk about energy, I mean both physical and in the form of your desires and what you want out of life or for yourself, whatever the case may be. And so, yeah, I'm doing good. Doing real good. So, there are three things specifically that I wanted to talk about investing into, and one is investing into yourself. Investing into yourself. So, by round of applause, big round of applause. Who here is a creative? Yeah, that was good job, guys. That was a trick question. Mindy was like, "Well, okay, you guys better all be clapping right now." That's a.
I was hoping that you would do the opposite. Who's not a creative and have them clap?
just to like single people out, just eyeball. Sorry, you just happen to be the person. That could have been anyone. Yes, I love it. Who here has turned their creativity into a career? If you're an entrepreneur and your creativity is part of that. Awesome. Who here, and of course, the rest of these, there are no right or wrong answers. This is just surveying. Who here, whose creative outlet is their hobby? And they don't really intend for it to be more, it's less, yeah, absolutely. And there's power in that. I don't want to discredit that at all, and I'll talk about that a little bit more here in a second. And heck, yes, cool beans. Awesome. Make sure. So now they have. Okay, there's. Okay, cool. So the reason that I feel like it's so important to talk about investing into yourself is because you will always have you. All right. No one can take you away. No matter where you go in the world, you will always have you. No matter what your circumstances are in your life or your career, you lose your job, you still have you. And that's the power of investing into yourself. If you empower yourself with new skills, if you expand your skill set, expand your mind, your physical state, that's something that you can have and that you will always have, and you can't have taken away from you, which is a beautiful thing. It should give you some confidence. It's something that in my life, it's something that kind of gives me this kind of a safety net, a sense of security. I try to instill that, of course, into my family as well, because no matter, anytime I'm looking at a new like business venture or whatever the case is, I'm like, well, I mean, if it doesn't go well, I can always just go back to selling cars, and like that's something that I'll always have, and I guess my rhetorical question, I'm going to be asking a lot of these, by the way, lots of questions, is what's your thing, or what's your collection of things? What are you good at that no one can take away from you? What should you be feeling good about right now that you can do, and that if all else fails, I got this thing? Because I guarantee you everybody here has something, or a collection of things, and I encourage you to increase that. We talk about investing money, time, and energy. All of those things can be invested into yourself. If you're a creative and as part of your business, how are you investing your money into expanding your skills, right? Are you doing things like learning a new creative outlet to then exercise the one that you have? What are you doing to think outside your own box, right? I think that's such an interesting statement. I was thinking about this last night, and the phrase "think outside the box," that's something that to people like us we get attributed with, like we do a good job of it. It's like, oh yeah, creatives. If you're creative, you think outside the box. And I know that we believe here at Creative Mornings that everybody's creative, and that's true. But it's interesting to think that phrase like Muggles created that, like people who kind of deem themselves uncreative are like, oh wow, you think outside the box, and he's like, yep, this is where I think, But then the weird thing is, we as creatives then create our own box that we think in. Right? So what are you then doing to further exercise to think outside your box? That everything's constantly changing. The bar is being set higher and higher, hopefully not lower and lower. But you need to be mindful of that. One of the things that I learned, actually it was I forgot what I was doing, but it was one of the things that I took with me in my years of day jobs. Was if you ever feel like you're at the top of the mountain, then the only place that you can go is down, right? So if you ever feel like you're at the top of the mountain, it's like, this is where I am. Now you can go down, and that's it. So the idea is, find the new mountain. What's the new mountain that you can climb? And even if it's a completely different mountain, talking about new creative endeavor, it's going to improve your ability to climb mountains. And that's super, super valued for us to have, especially as creative entrepreneurs. So, yeah. We're doing good. We're doing sweet. Man, I'm killing. Guys, I literally just got through like an entire paragraph of my notes. That is, yeah, just off the top. Thank you so much. Sweet. So other things that you can do for yourself, investing into yourself, is controlling your community. Who you surround yourself with. I'm going to talk, whenever I talk about this other thing, I don't even know if I talked about it. No, a little bit later about surrounding yourself with people that are important to you. And specifically, as far as investing into yourself goes, you need to have, in my experience, 5 people. Your top 5, the people that support you, that love you, that support you, and that you can always go to, And the thing is, I feel like the most difficult thing about having your top 5 is that sometimes they're not who you think they are, and your top 5 is not who you want to be. Some people might pick a parent or a spouse or somebody or a best friend that's very close to them, yeah, and they might not be in your top 5. They might not. You need to have some discernment, right? Know who your top 5 are. These are the people that you can trust and that constantly uplift you. Sometimes, our best friends have to be taken out of our top 5 if they're toxic. You know, if when you look at, you know, you talk about like religious stuff, by their fruits ye shall know them is a pretty famous biblical passage. And it's very, very true, regardless of whether you practice religion or spirituality or not. You know, if the fruits of a relationship aren't positive for you, maybe they're not in your top 5. Maybe that's not where you should be investing your energy. But also, so that's top 5, but also surrounding yourself with people that challenge you. When we talk about thinking outside of your own box and kind of leveling up yourself and your own creativity, who do you have around you that is challenging where you are at currently? You know, and it may have a little bit of friction and conflict, but that's where you grow from. You know, there's this, it brings to mind this this video I watched on Facebook. And it was this guy, and he was talking about, it might have been a rabbi, he was talking about how lobsters grow. Have you guys seen this video? Do you guys have any idea how okay, lobsters grow? Sweet, I can take credit for this. I can't. None of this stuff is new. This is stuff that people have thought years and years and years before. But lobsters grow, they're like these really like jelly-like spongy things underneath their shell. And eventually the shell gets really uncomfortable because they're growing on the inside. The shell doesn't grow. It's a fixed thing. So it gets to a point where it's incredibly painful for the lobster to be in its own shell, right? And that has to break and just basically fall away so that the lobster can then grow larger and create a whole new shell. And it just gives this metaphor for growth that I think is beautiful. You know, we resist conflict as much as we can. We hate it, but sometimes, again, going back to discernment, it's exactly what we need. You know. So again, what people in your lives are challenging you in all the right ways, right? In all the right ways. These are not people that are being toxic. These are people that are offering a viewpoint with love that you can then process and potentially add to your own, or perhaps adopt in the instance that that's necessary, right? So yes. So investing into yourself. There's one other thing that I wanted to reference with this that's been super important for my mental health, because I think, and I don't know if this is something that's just a human nature, if this is a human thing, or this is something that's very closely tied to creatives in general, but it's exhausting. You know, I think that in any capacity, careers, whether even if it's something that you love, right? Like you're pursuing your dream, like it's what you want to do, it's still work, and it still comes with anxiety and stress. It's exhausting, you know, to do. And one thing that I found to be very, very powerful for me is that you have to have an outlet. You have to have your space to wind down. You have to have a hobby. You have to have some form of meditation. And it is my recommendation that it's not TV. Because I feel like that, for many people, that's kind of their wind down. And maybe if you make a whole deal out of it, you're like, sweet, I'm gonna have candles, I'm gonna have my wine, bottles right here, I got popcorn, my cat or dog, whatever the case is, and like binging Netflix. If you get that into it, maybe, right? But most of the time, that's not what we do, right? It's more of a trap. We just come home and it's like, well, Netflix is here, and then we jump in on it. Oh my goodness, yeah. And so, this has been huge for me. Is I've picked back up Dungeons and Dragons, or actually, I picked back up Magic the Gathering, and I learned how to play Dungeons and Dragons. I've never known it, and it's been awesome up until this point. My creative outlets of improv and stand-up, those were my hobbies, right? Those were the things that I did. It got to a point, those don't provide for me in the same way that a hobby does anymore, you know? So I need something new, and I didn't realize that I needed something new until I started doing this thing. And even more so, I realized These were nerdy things about myself that I have been trying to hide through my entire life, you know? Like, I've been ashamed of it. I played these nerdy card games in middle school and high school, and I'm like, I need to distance myself if I'm going to be a success in the world, you know? Like, and it's so not true. I've found so much comfort. What was that?
I said wave your freak flag.
That's exact. Please wave your freak flags, you guys. There's so much freedom in that. Yeah. So even if you are doing what you love, find something. Find your release. Find a hobby. Find the thing that you can genuinely not feel like is a waste of your time, and just let loose and not worry about stuff anymore. Sweet. That is one thing, and I don't have a lot of time left. So investing into others. Investing into others. Guys, never in my life have I gotten more return on an investment than when I generously invested into others. I invest into my top 5. I invest into people. You're gonna know when you feel that energy, when you feel that connection, who you're supposed to invest to in those people around you. And I promise you that you will get a return on that more than anything else. But the beauty is, and this is where my 3 stars come by, you can't expect it. Never, ever, like when you invest into other people, because that's what we do. That's what we do as human beings. We give with the expectation of return. And you have to let go of that expectation of return if you expect to actually get a return, you know? And it becomes this very, very weird cycle where you find yourself just giving, and you don't even think about the return anymore. But it's vital. It is vital it's vital to getting a return, and that's what we go for. That's what we need to build. We need to grow. We need to transform into better selves, or we need to transform our business or our creative ability, whatever that may be, into something new. And in order to do that, we have to invest without the expectation that we're going to get something in return. So that's I already talked about. Oh man. Sweet. So by quick round of applause, who here owns a business where they have employees or manages? Yes, we have one. Cool. Excellent. Real quick, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this because there's a bajillion videos out there on it. Invest into your employees, guys. Spend money, spend time, spend energy on your employees, especially in today's business world. There's nothing more powerful than an employee working at a place that they love. Those are the employees that you want. You want those people to love being there, to love working with you, to love working with each other. I promise you that it might seem like it's like, oh, we don't have money for that. You have money for that. And if you don't make money for it, throw money at it and you will get return. Your employees will be happier. They will then make you more money, which then it's a whole thing. Just do it. And then one more thing is investing into your dreams. Investing into your dreams. As I mentioned before, at one time, acting, stand-up comedy, and improv was my hobby, and it became my career. It was something that was very, very important to me. I poured money into it. I poured energy into it. I poured time into it. And so my rhetorical question to you would be, what's your dream? What's the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life that is super, super important to you? And the reason I ask that question is I feel like a lot of people neglect their dream, because they don't think that it's something that's achievable. They don't think that it's realistic. And I guarantee you, as you pour money, time, and energy into it, it will become realistic, especially energy, pouring in the desire just to do it. I had this conversation with a friend recently that was kind of blowing my mind a little bit. She was talking to me about how she wants to become an entertainer, an improviser. She wants to host big events, and I'm like, oh, sweet, this is great, and we're talking, I'm giving her ideas, and we're talking about websites and things, and then she's like, I will never leave my day job, and I'm like, what? And it's because she loves her day job so much. She loves it, and its stability and the insurance and all these things, and I'm like, okay, hold up a little bit. The thing is, making a career, like, it's all a matter of putting things into perspective now. I was thinking her dream was entertainment, was improv, was comedy, all these things. That might necessarily be her dream. This is somebody who, those things are maybe her release then. Those things are her hobby, which is fine because, again, we all need those things, you know. But it kind of blew my mind a little bit, and which is why I'm sharing it with you, so that you can maybe in your situation figure out, all right, what's the thing that I want to be my hobby all the time? What's the thing that brings me joy? And I don't want to defile with the need to make money, because that's kind of a real thing, you know? Or what's the thing that you want to do for the rest of your life, that I want this to be my career and my main source of income, or maybe a bit of side income, you know? And asking yourself those hard questions, so that you can kind of, again, grow to the next level. There's one more thing that I'll kind of leave you guys with, because it's something that I found out very recently. Regardless of what your effort is, you will get return on what you pour your energy into. This is something that I'm finding out almost sort of the hard way in a little bit. I mentioned my trifecta is acting, improv, stand-up comedy. That's what I want to do. In fact, acting for me is at the top. That's the thing that's like my number one. If stand-up comedy and improv fell away and I had acting, I would be super happy with it, because I believe these other things kind of feed into the acting. Having that been said, I have been going to improv festivals with different shows. I've been taking workshops, improving my own improv abilities. I have been recently teaching classes on improv. I've been doing tons and tons of shows. I now have a ton of like recurring shows coming up. And I realized that the energy that I've been pouring into improv like 6 months ago is now returning in the form of tons and tons and tons of improv, right? But acting's my number one. Like, that's the thing that I really want to do. And I'm kind of one of those that I've just kind of been walking through the doors that are open to me, as opposed to kind of taking the steering wheel and driving where I want to go. So the thing that I've gathered from that and learned is that you need to be mindful about where you pour your energy. I have been pouring it into improv, and so naturally that has kind of grown. And I'm like, wait, where's film at? You know, it's not just going to happen. It's you are going to get returns on what you pour energy into. So be mindful of what you're pouring your energy into. Direct that into something that you want to get a return on. And yeah, guys, my name's Austin Von Johnson. That's my social media for everything. So I appreciate you guys letting me be here. Thank you so much for your attention and for laughing and having some fun with me. And have a wonderful morning.